When you're there for the introductory story of a Doctor, it's a bit like being present for a birth, and one gets teary-eyed looking back. Matt Smith crash-landed into our hearts in what was, in my opinion, the best introduction of any Doctor to date. And yes, it seems like only yesterday. The thing about Doctor Who, of course, is that as the years spin by, you keep not only witnessing the births, you have to endure their deaths as well. I had mixed feelings before watching this episode. On the one hand, it's been a long wait to see Capaldi's premiere. On the other, I still couldn't quite believe the 11th Doctor was gone. But times change. And so must he. Well then, here we go again. Classic fans may recognise that line from Madame Vastra is a lend from the Brigadier back in the 3rd Doctor Jon Pertwee's swan song, Planet of the Spiders. Being dropped from the mouth of a Tyrannosaurus Rex may not be the most gracious entrance for a Doctor to make, and certainly not what I expected, well, who would? But Peter Capaldi, as many of us expected, is captivating from the get-go. Some Doctors are the Doctor after one season, others only take their opening adventure. Capaldi stepped out of the TARDIS already the Doctor, despite the loss of memory, and the first Scottish accent he's had in 5 lifetimes. Not only that, but this is by far and away one of Stephen Moffat's best scripts. Perhaps only now does he have Doctor Who how he wants it, and the quality will remain consistent. The Doctor suddenly being an older man once more seems to be a very deliberate interwoven theme, which is intriguing, just as his Scottishness is a cause of some humour. Okay, there's still some outright silliness, using sign language to communicate with a dinosaur in the Thames, and the horse chase through Victorian London, Strax's mere presence. Strax has at least one truly painful so-called comedy moment. But there are also some great scenes with Clara, Jenny, and Vastra, characters that have never had so much substance or gravitas before. The show feels rejuvenated, and despite the return to Victorian London and of the Paternoster gang, alright, the lesbian stuff gets old fast. Vastra and Jenny are a couple, we get it. And while Jenny is the eye-candy lesbian, Vastra in this episode displays lechery, predatory behaviour, and mild misandry. Stop it, Moffat. Just stop it. Oh, and a T-Rex that's as tall as Big Ben? Screw it. I just don't care anymore. And this episode, which is 75 minutes long, maybe takes a while to get to the story proper, but it's not the first time a regeneration has slowed a story down in the first few minutes, and anyway, this is made up for by Clara, who actually has character and purpose in this episode. Displaced dinosaurs aside, what is happening in Victorian London this time? The Girl in the Fireplace was one of Moffat's triumphs in the RTD era, and the brightest jewel in Season 2's crown. So after 7 years, the return of Clockwork Robots is more than welcome. The Marie Antoinette is the sister ship of the Madame de Pompadour, and the harvesting of living organs seems to be a common problem with this technology. Something should be done about that, really. Deep Breath is also somewhat reminiscent of the novel The Clockwise Man by Justin Richards, which I recommend. It also puts me slightly in mind of Guy Ritchie's Sherlock Holmes movies, but with a steampunk sci-fi twist. Oh, and did anyone else notice the synergy between the Doctor and the villain? You are a broom. Question. You take a broom, you replace the handle, and then later you replace the brush. And you do that over and over again. Is it still the same broom? No, of course it isn't. There's not a trace of the original you left. You probably can't even remember where you got that face from. Capaldi's face, at this moment, this second, when the Doctor realizes he also describes himself, is reason enough to have faith in this season. This episode is mainly tonally perfect, so why the hell is Strax in this? Also, one plot point. Why does Clara think the Doctor's regeneration can be reversed? She's seen every past Doctor. She surely knows that isn't how it works. Barring a couple of gripes here or there, as a Doctor-to-Doctor transition, this was clearly very hard to marshal. But thankfully Moffat and the cast have managed to pull it off, and Deep Breath is about as different from the 11th hour as possible, which is a good decision. they are both pretty awesome, and for utterly different reasons. Perhaps what stands out the most in this episode is the contrast between Capaldi's often nuanced, if quirky, performance and the absurd bigness of events around him. From an exploding dino to the bad guy, he's more man than machine now, being impaled on the spire of Big Ben, and just what is the deal with this Missy person? While the 12th Doctor does come out with one or two 11-ish sounding lines, but in another accent, he's certainly different, more deductive and psychological. He is methodically different, and I hope to see more of this. To speculate on what is to come, well, the message in the newspaper said, "from the other side," which can refer to the afterlife, presumably a reference to Missy in the Promised Land. And from what we know about Time Lord watches, the Doctor bartering his in Victorian London is doubtless significant. Missy wears Victorian garb. Could it be this is how she knows so much about him? Intriguing, creepy, exciting, colourful, quirky, moving. The Capaldi era looks promising indeed. Oh, and what can I say about that phone call? Deep Breath gets 8 Sonics out of 10.